we move along to the other pay-per-view this weekend, the actual official pay-per-view of the weekend, because No Mercy is on. Well, one, No Mercy is considered WWE's developmental, and it's also on Peacock. Well, this one is trying to be a pay-per-view. And what is the start, I think, of AEW moving to many more pay-per-views? Obviously, all the talk of HBO Max making AEW have 12 pay-per-views a year. This is one of the pay-per-views that was created just about a month ago. It is a tribute to Inoki, as I guess, his history and his, influence on the business.
It's a cool name.
It is on the 1 year passing of Antonio Inoki. That is why this event exists. And as Tony Khan said, wrestling's greatest dreamer. So it is AEW WrestleDream. And like I said, I think this is the start of what's going to be many more pay-per-views.
And by the way, speaking of Inoki, obviously you mentioned the 1 year anniversary. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they're going to be doing a 10-bell salute, at the pay-per-view. So that'll be cool.
Yeah. So if you tune in late, just know that that's what they're doing. Don't get all freaked out when you tune into the pay-per-view and you see a 10-bell salute and you think, oh, my God, what happened to somebody more recently? It's Antonio Inoki, who passed away over a year ago, a retro. Like if you turn on Monday Night Raw nowadays and you see that, I mean, like we seen when we were kids, they never did it for, I guess like the Gorilla Monsoons of the world, when they all passed away, you have the little memorial at the beginning. But when you see all the wrestlers onto the ramp, it is something, I guess, a lot more serious and a lot more recent. But either way, a decent pay-per-view, some good matches on the card. But I think the big talk heading into this pay-per-view is what happened essentially this week on AEW Dynamite. So as we talked about 1 week ago on AEW Dynamite, Adam Cole, he came to the ring to help MJF. Very gingerly slipped, looked like he was, laboring one of his legs. Well, it was revealed that he's going to need surgery and he is going to be out on injury. And then at the end of the show this past week on AEW Dynamite, as MJF is now scheduled to take on The Righteous. If you're a fan of Ring of Honor, they're currently a Ring of Honor tag team. They've been before Ring of Honor tag team champions back in the Tony Khan incarnation of the company. Vincent, I guess you could say, was the Ring of Honor or alternative to Bray Wyatt's character, if you've ever seen him before. But MJF is going to take on The Righteous for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships in a 2-on-1 handicap match. But MJF started feuding with Jay White this past week on Dynamite, and at the end of the show, Jay White was attacked by a masked man wearing that old devil mask that we've seen MJF pull off in the past when he won the big casino chip. They gave him the number one contendership and all that nonsense. But many speculate who this person could be. Could this be Adam Cole? Is he really hurt? Is this all a work? Could this be Roderick Strong? Obviously, we've seen the involvement with him lately in the MJF Adam Cole saga, if you will. Or could this be something completely bigger than all of those? And I'm talking about the rumors are that he's never been closer than ever before. He's officially off the WWE books, and people are really starting to speculate now. One, Adam Copeland, Edge. Do we see Edge at this pay-per-view? Do we see Edge showing up in AEW anytime soon?
The answer to that is no and no and no. To answer the question about the masked person, I would have to say, I think it's Roddy. I think it's Roddy Strong. That's my gut. I feel like it might be. I feel like the Adam Cole situation is. I feel like if they pull the wool over me, over my eyes, then good for them. But I do feel like he's injured legitimately. So I would say Roddy. It's probably Roddy.
So with this pay-per-view, I know you got the card in front of you and stuff like that. What are we looking at as like the main event of this show? Is it Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr.? I mean, that is obviously quote unquote a dream match. Adam Page and Swerve Strickland won't be the main event, but that is a good match also. And there's 10, again, AEW loves to load them up. 10 main show matches as of right now on this card. And I don't think Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. are going at 7 minutes, right? I don't think Chris Statlander and Julia Hart, even though it's for the AEW TBS Championship, I don't think they're going 5 minutes. So, what is the main event of this show? There's a ton of
That's the question. Because I'm looking at this card and I'm like, okay, what is the main event? Like, these are all, quality.
There's no world title on the line here. Obviously, MJF is defending his Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship.
And they're not. And here's the thing: I don't think MJF is going to be the main event with the Righteous.
Especially with the 2-on-1 story.
Yeah, no, especially with that. I mean, the only one I could really come up with off the top of my head would maybe be the Chris Jericho and the Golden Elite versus the Don Callis family. I mean, that could be the main event. I mean, I could see AEW doing that. I just don't think I don't think Kristen Cage and Darby Allin are going to end the show.
I mean, that's a 2 out of 3 falls match. That's the second 2 out of 3 falls match apparently we're getting this weekend. But that obviously means that's going to be at least like 12 to 15 minutes, if not longer.
Yeah, I don't know. Like they're not. I don't think
the tag titles.
Aussie Open's not. I don't think Aussie Open's big enough to be the main event. I mean, I know FTR is obviously FTR, but I don't think FTR versus Aussie Open would be the end of the show. Like they're not going to send the people home after that match. You know what I mean? Like,
they've been giving Orange Cassidy quite the push lately. So, I mean, the AEW World Tag Team Championship involving Orange Cassidy and Hook versus the Young Bucks versus the Guns versus the Lucha Bros. I mean, that could possibly be. I mean, you got a lot of star power in that one. I don't think it's going to be FTR versus Aussie Open. I feel like they kicked that match off.
I feel like they're, because here's the thing. Here's the guarantee in life with AEW on Dynamite. The show always starts with Orange Cassidy. So why doesn't the pay-per-view not start with Orange Cassidy? You usually hear his music. It's like Death Taxes and Orange Cassidy starts Dynamite. That's how it usually goes. And I could see this being this. Here's the thing. And the reason why I would say that is, when you're doing like, if you have 2 matches that you're like main event, I don't know what I'm gonna do with the other one. You put if you feel like that's the second best match, you start the night with it. Because you want to be in the beginning, you want to start the show, or you want to end the show. Anywhere in between is called the filler. So like for me, like if they're not going to be the main event, I'd be surprised if they weren't starting the show.
Yeah, no, I'm going to take a guess here, and I'm going to say that the main event is going to be Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr.
That's not a bad bout.
Will Ospreay and Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. I mean, those are big stars. I could see them in a main event, and also with Sammy Guevara. Ricky Stark and Wheeler Yuta. That looks like it's going to be a great technical match, but and Ricky Stark is pretty popular lately as well. They've been giving him quite the push. But again,
here's the thing: Starks and Yuta is not a main event. That's not a main event match. As much as I love Starks and I respect what Yuta's done, that to me is going to be a good filler match. I would say in the middle. That's just me. I mean, I'm probably going to be completely wrong on this because how Tony Khan's going to book this totally differently than what we would want to book. That's just, I mean, we know how that goes. But if for my money, I feel like I think you're right though. Danielson and Sabre Jr. wouldn't be a bad way to. But knowing AEW, they could start the show with that. Like, all right, let's kick off the show with a banger. Like. That's the thing about these matches. Like Tony Khan will throw some. I've seen Tony Khan throw some really matches I thought would be main events as the opening match of the show. So like, it wouldn't be surprising if they did that.
Bryan Danielson, we know he was originally scheduled to face Zack Sabre Jr. at Forbidden Door in 2022, but was unable to do that because of injury. I think this is a dream match for Bryan Danielson, most importantly, to face somebody like Zack Sabre Jr. It is essentially, according to most spots on the internet, being tagged as like the poster for this event.
It is. It's a WrestleDream match.
Yeah.
There you go. Sorry, I just had to try it. WrestleDream match. So when you say it like that, I'll go out and say that Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr., they're either kicking the show off or they're sending the fans home. It's one or the other. They're not going to be anywhere else, I don't think, on the card.
Are you looking forward to this? Like, if you had a choice, let's just pretend you have a choice, right, to attend one and only one event. You can attend this event, WrestleDream, here at the first day of October, or trade your tickets in, double them down, November 18th, the next AEW pay-per-view. Right now, with no matches announced yet, AEW Full Gear from the Forum in Inglewood.
I would go with this match or this card. I think I'd go with this card just because of the factor of Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. Like that's been a match like long overdue, obviously. So I feel like that alone is pretty good. I do think the card is solid from top to bottom. Like it doesn't like to me, you don't have to have every match is going to have megastar versus megastar. Like these are all quality matches, and I feel like the fans are going to get their money's worth because 10 matches, 10 quality matches where, I feel like from start to finish, people are going to be pleased with this show. I really do believe that. I would, just cause I know what we're getting, I'd rather go with the unknown, especially if you're putting me on the spot and saying, hey, coming up this weekend, a full 10-match card versus, okay, next, in November, an empty card. I could be wrong. That could be the best card in November, but I don't know. So I'd rather go see something I know I know that's going to be good.
I get this. It's at 5:00 local time in Seattle, but I will say, it's funny that WWE has actually been shortening up their pay-per-views lately, and they're on Saturday nights, and AEW is pulling out this 10-match card that starts at 8:00 Eastern time on a Sunday night, not leading into a holiday or anything like that. Back in the day, I remember thinking how crazy it was at WrestleMania. It went to like 12:00 on a Sunday night. Looking on it, I still think it is crazy, and I don't know why that seems to be a trend that you should want to get away from. I get it. It's going to be a great card. I hope everybody who's going to this AEW event is there on vacation or has the next day off, because it is not going to be something – I guess it's in Seattle, so it'll be probably over at a reasonable time. But if you're watching on TV, I imagine it's going to be midnight on Sunday. They're going to take up your whole Sunday night. Unlike the WWE, who's been shying away from going against like the National Football League, AEW is not doing that. But like I said, could this be the start of what in 2024 many are rumoring to be a 12-month calendar for AEW of pay-per-views? This is the first non-full gear all out. So right now what we got is we have the first pay-per-view of the year, which is Revolution, right? That's in February and late and early March a lot of times. Then you got Double or Nothing. Then you have All Out. Then you have All In. Then you have Full Gear. So as of this pay-per-view, this will be the 6th.
Perfect number. Let's stop there.
Oh, and Forbidden Door, 7. Sorry, Forbidden Door.
Yeah, 7's not bad. So, 6 or 7. Because you could spread it out like over,
every 2 months. Yes.
Yeah.
The next pay-per-view is about a month and a half away.
Yeah, like 6 to 8 weeks, I'm good with. Like to me, like having a pay-per-view every 4 weeks, I feel like just waters down the show. I feel like you can spread it.
Here's a question though for you, because we've been talking a lot about this being a 10-match card. What if with AEW, and I don't know if Tony Khan would agree to this kind of thing, if you just present every card ridiculously, what if more pay-per-views, smaller cards, similar to what we're doing in WWE, right? Roman Reigns isn't on every card, Seth Rollins isn't on every, people are taking cards off. Cody Rhodes is doing a segment on this card, a match on this card. We're kind of seeing that already, right? With MJF not defending the title on every card. Sometimes he's defending the tag title, sometimes he's not. He's defending his world title. So more cards, but like 2.5 hour pay-per-views or even less, right? Would you like that, or do you want
that's a good point. That's fair.
I don't know if Tony Khan would agree. I imagine he'd still make every card 10 matches.
He's gonna make every match like I'll just say the 5-star special that we all hear about from a particular writer that I'm not gonna mention, but. To me, like, you make a good point. Like, okay, Cody Rhodes is on this pay-per-view, and then he's not on that pay-per-view. It's like almost like if it's like every other give or take, like I'm good. I think I'd be okay with that, because then you can give, and on the other side it'll be other competitors, like say like in the AEW world, FTR's in a match this week or this pay-per-view, and then they're not in the following pay-per-view, and then the next one they are. So it's like every other. To me, that would give enough time to build storylines and have a good reason to have a good competitive match at a pay-per-view, because then you're going to see the finale or maybe the beginning of a huge storyline with whoever their opponents are. In this case, it's Aussie Open, but it could be somebody else down the line.
AEW reminds me a lot of WCW in the way that they have such a huge roster of people, and probably too huge. And it's kind of funny that when WWE has already not as big of a roster, WWE goes through segments every single year where they release, 10 to 15 people. It's a usual thing. AEW, other than CM Punk being fired, right, and Jade Cargill not re-signing her contract, things like that don't happen. AEW's roster just seems to get bigger and bigger, where it's funny when everyone just got released in WWE, we talk about them like, well, they're going to come sign to AEW. I think AEW needs that. That is a problem. I get it that you like all these guys, but from a wrestling fan perspective, I like a smaller roster. I actually appreciate that WWE kind of trims the fat every so often if they're not doing something with people. Like AEW already has a bloated roster, and they're going to probably take in the Dolph Zigglers of the world, right? So if I was AEW,
quality over quantity.
Yeah, it's just funny that there's such two dynamics of different companies. One company has less people and wants even less people. One company has more people and is taking on even more people.
You know why I like that, though? You know why I like that last point? Because you're getting, like, for the WWE side of things, you're giving more television time to certain people. and you're getting the fan base more exposed to that individual or tag team, whatever, or faction. And then by that, you're going to build them into, they're going to have their own fan bases. Where here's the thing. In AEW, you could see somebody there and then they're not there and then they're there. So like there's not enough continuity where like fans can't get behind like an LA Knight kind of push, things like that, because it's like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop.
Keith Lee is, I mean.
Exactly. That's my point. Like guys like that. Yeah.
Big Cass isn't on this card. Keith Lee isn't on this card. Like people like that. You know what I mean? There's lots of people who come and go. And we see them on TV, and then we're like, we don't see much more of them. And we'll like, a good example is RVD's obviously been showing up a lot in AEW recently, right? But they've been having them like be specific to Collision and stuff like that. But not obviously involving. And the pay-per-views a lot of times don't always look, and this is one thing, especially with like Forbidden Door and this one too, the pay-per-views don't always look like the TV show, right? So it is kind of strange in that aspect. But I think I'm more interested in watching this event than I am probably NXT this weekend.
Yeah, me too.
We'll judge which one is the better show. I think the difference is obviously this is AEW's main show. This is WWE's NXT show. But hey, maybe AEW 12 pay-per-views a year, 6 Collision pay-per-views, 6 Dynamite pay-per-views, brand split. No, I don't want that. I don't care how many people you have. I don't want that.
I don't either.
I'd rather you fire people than not do that. All right.